For the first DIY, I'm going to be using some of Dollar Tree's tumbling tower blocks, and I glued together 2 rows of 7 of the wooden blocks, and this is going to form the background for my sign. And then I also glued another block on the back just to help it stand up better. And then I went ahead and stained the wooden blocks with some antiquing wax by Waverly. I'm going to be using one of these wooden bunny ornaments from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cover it with some of this pink and white plaid paper from Hobby Lobby. So I went ahead and traced out the bunny, and then I cut that out so I could glue it onto the bunny. And now I'm just going to glue the bunny onto the tumbling tower blocks that I glued together to create the background for this sign. Next, I'm going to make a little mini Easter sign using one of these canvases that are on an easel from Dollar Tree. So to start, I go ahead and cut off the canvas because I'm just going to be using the wooden frame. And now I'm going to paint the wooden frame with some light gray Waverly chalk paint in the color Steel. I'm also going to distress the wooden frame with a little bit of white paint. And now I'm going to cut out a piece of this blue polka dot paper from Hobby Lobby to be the background of the frame. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue the piece of paper onto the back of my frame. And then the last thing that I'm going to do for this mini Easter sign is to write "Hop" on it with a black marker. For the next Easter DIY, I'm going to be making a mini rolling pin using some of these wooden beads from Dollar Tree and also one of Dollar Tree's foam paintbrushes. And I removed the head of the paintbrush so that I'm just left with the wooden handle, which will be the base of the rolling pin, and I'm going to paint this part pale blue. And then I'm going to glue on the 2 mini wooden beads onto the ends of the rolling pin for the handles. And I'm also going to paint both of the handles with some white Waverly chalk paint. Next, I'm going to spell out bunnies on the mini rolling pin using some of these little letter stickers. And to make sure the stickers stay in place, I sealed it with a layer of Mod Podge. And to finish off this mini rolling pin, I added on this little bow that I made using some pink and white buffalo check ribbon from Hobby Lobby. Next up, I'm going to be making a mini Easter themed marshmallow using one of these foam dice from Dollar Tree. And to start, I'm going to be using a white balloon from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut off the neck of the balloon so that I can stretch it over the dice. This way you don't have to paint the dice and it makes it much easier. And I did have to go ahead and wrap 3 of the balloons around the dice to get it fully covered so that you can't see any of the red showing through. Now I'm going to draw on the face of the marshmallow, and to start I'm going to draw 2 crescent shaped eyes, and then I'm going to add some eyelashes as well. And I'm also going to add a little bit of light pink paint for some blush. To create the topper of the marshmallow, I'm going to start by gluing on this circular piece of cardboard that I cut out to be slightly bigger than this dome-shaped piece of foam. And for that, I took a circular ball of foam and I cut it in half to create this dome shape. And then I'm going to be taking some of the lightweight spackling, and you can find this at Dollar Tree if you want it to be a completely Dollar Tree craft. And I'm going to add this into a container so that I can add some paint to it. And for the paint color, I'm going to be adding in some light pink paint. And I'm just going to mix this around until it is completely blended. Now I'm going to add the lightweight spackling into a Ziploc bag so that I will be able to pipe it onto the top of the marshmallow. So I'm just going to cut a corner off of the Ziploc bag, and then I'm going to start piping it around the dome-shaped top of the marshmallow like you would when you're frosting a cupcake. Now I'm going to add on some of these Easter colored sprinkles that I made using polymer clay. And I'm also going to add on some of these circular white sprinkles as well. And to finish off the topper for my marshmallow, I'm going to add on these mini Easter eggs that I made using polymer clay. Next up, I'm going to be using this wooden crate from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this to make a fake stack of books, and these are the colors that I'm going to be using. And to start, I'm going to paint what would be the top book with the pink paint. And for what would be the middle book, I'm going to paint it with the pale blue paint. And for the bottom book, I'm going to paint it yellow. Now I'm going to use some white paint to de-stress around what would be the edges of the books. Next, I'm going to use some stickers to spell out bunny kisses and Easter wishes. And the last thing that I'm going to do is wrap some twine around the stack of books and then tie that in a bow at the top. Next up, I'm going to be making an Easter-themed beaded garland using 2 different sizes of the wooden beads, and I painted them using the same colors that I used for the Easter-themed stack of books. I'm going to use one of these chalkboard tags from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint it white so that it matches better with the rest of my Easter decor. And then I'm going to write Happy Easter on the tag using a Sharpie. I also added a stitching effect around the edges of the tag. And now I'm just going to tie it onto the end of my beaded garland. And next I'm going to make the tassel for the other end of the beaded garland. And to make this, I wrapped some twine around my hand about 30 times. And then I took another piece of twine and tied a knot at one end of the loop. And on the other end of the loop, across from the knot, I went ahead and cut the twine. And then I folded it in half so that the knot was in the inside, and took another piece of twine that I wrapped around the top of the tassel a couple of times, and then I tied this into place. Now I'm going to trim the ends of the tassel so that it is the same length, and then I'm just going to attach my tassel to the other end of the beaded garland. For the last Easter DIY, I'm going to be making a wooden cross using 5 of Dollar Tree's tumbling tower blocks. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue all 5 of them together. And then I'm going to paint the cross with some light gray Waverly chalk paint in the color Steel. And the last thing that I did was distress it with some white paint.